I'm back. Well, what have we got today? Well, you might be surprised to learn it's something that you could use with your guitar, or you could use it in the studio, and that's what we used it for, in the studio, to effect guitars and vocals. And well, to be honest, you could almost effect anything with this. This is a H7600 from Eventide. Oh, hey Tony, what the hell are you talking about? Well, this thing here, I've had it for a number of years, probably 10 years now, and I never really used it every day type of thing, but it's been used off and on to give you particularly good effects, and it covers a whole range of effects. This one's in here at the moment. I've taken it out of the rack. If you've already seen that video, great, and if you haven't seen the physical studio operation, well, look for the other videos. There are 3 of them, in fact, where we build this extension literally from the ground up. So the first one covers the building side, the second one covers, well, sort of assembly, but it doesn't cover every aspect, but the third one, the operation side, as well as showing you everything here and in the other 2 rooms we've got. It does actually show you some of the things like cabling and stuff like that. So if you want to see that, do keep your eyes open on the either the Evil Owl Studios channel or Tony Mackenzie.com channel. It'll be on one or the other. It can't be on both, I'm afraid. They don't like you doing that. So what the hell is this thing exactly, Tony? Well, I'm going to tell you, and then we're going to have a look a bit closer and I'll tell you what the problem was. It's all easy to fix, but if you didn't know, and a lot of guys might like to see this because nobody's been near it. Now, I'm not going to go into the depths that I do sometimes, but I am going to look at it a bit closer, and so are you. So let's have a look at what Eventide say about this device. I'm afraid I'm going to have to read it because they know more than I do, believe it or not. Here we go. The Eventide H7600 is a programmable, multi-purpose, 24-bit, 96 kHz digital audio signal processor with ultra shifter capability. It is the stereo single processor version of the Eventide H8000. The 7600 is a successor to a distinguished line of digital signal processors, they say, and that has established Eventide as the forefront for this arena. Well, if you've seen the new one they've just released, well, maybe a year or 2 ago, yeah, they're still at the forefront today. And this is the sort of company where companies like Fractal Audio think they're better. No, they're not. They don't come within 1,000 miles. Anyway, on and upwards. The 7600 feature set put it in a class by itself. The number and unmatched flexibility of its programs are remarkable, and I can tell you they are. Wait until you see the manual. You get lush reverbs, choruses, flanges, delays, pitch shifters, dynamics, EQs, filters, distortions, synthesizers, samplers, to everything else almost conceivable. In short, the H7600 can do it all. Now, interestingly, at the bottom of this, something I've never done, but I know it can be done. It says here, for users interested in making their own programs, the 7600 accommodates this nicely. It employs a modular programming model that gives full latitude to your inspiration and creativity. Yeah, well, I know it does, because there are people that do that all the time. I'm not one of them these days, but if you think about the flexibility that's on offer, it's absolutely endless with this product. And it's not really hyper different than the H8000. The 8000, I believe, has got 2 processors, it's got more memory, and it's got more analog I/O and digital I/O on the back. But we're going to have a quick look at that. It's not rocket science, is any of it, but it's a very particularly good device, and I can recommend it if you can pick one up for your studio, or even if you're a guitarist, you whack this in your rack, and I'm telling you now, pretty awesome stuff. And it's riddled with MIDI and all the rest of it, so it could be a a very useful device, although I don't really think you'll get one for £50 anytime soon, or $75. They'd probably be in the thousands, even used. So what I want to do now is to bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can get a look at this, of what's actually inside it. I'm not going to go and start finding out what chips what, but it's pretty obvious in some respects to what it is. You'll have a look inside, see how nice it is. I'll show you where the problem is to fix. Very simple to fix. And yeah, you'll be the wiser for it, because nobody else will have showed you one of these like this on YouTube ever. That's the way they are. Anyway, let's get a bit closer. Okay, well, I don't know how clear you can see that, but this device, the reason it's sitting on the bench here is that it threw up all these errors, like I said. Please reformat this, and memory crash that, and all sorts of various things. And I was pretty sure that it wasn't actually anything like that. What it turned out to be is, if you look on the main board, right there, that's where you fit a battery. Now, it did have one in, and I've taken it out. And it'll probably flash up on screen exactly which battery that is, just in case you want to find one. I think it was a BR something or other, but when I looked over the internet, just as an interesting point for anybody who's got one of these, the BR seems to be very rare these days, and they do say that the CR equivalent actually is the same, so you could put one of them in. Yeah, so that's what the problem was. I'm pretty confident with this. Okay, well, I'm not going to spend all day on it, like I said, but if you take a look there, that's the sort of power supply area. It's got this fantastic toroidal transformer, and it looks to me like it's got some sort of filtering and the rest of it coming on the inside there. You've got some capacitors underneath, so if you've got a really old one and you've got a few problems, well, you might be looking at the capacitors first, because, to be honest, there isn't really much else that can go wrong with this thing, other than the battery. The battery's just my battery, by the way, lasted about 10 years. So if you think of that, every 10 years you're going to spend, well, £5. That's awesome. You can see it's a really, really well built type of product, and yeah, you see what you're paying for and you can see what you're getting. And I love to see this sort of thing, because as you look over this Eventide, you won't find a single fault with it, nothing. Now, typical of a lot of these sort of devices that sit in studios and stuff like that, you'll see that all these sockets and the rest of it are mounted down on the board. And if you look carefully, you can see there's a top plate that's blanking an area off, and the same this side, over the other side here. What that's all about is it's the same case, I believe, for the H8000, and on the 8000 it's got these extra I/O. So looking at these, I don't really think you're ever going to find any sort of major problems going on with this this unit. It's exceedingly well built. Now, I can't tell you what this is for, but it looks to me like an expansion area, that maybe there's some expansion to go in it. Okay, well, that looks to be like the sort of main processor of the thing. It says there that it's a MC68 something or other, and you'll probably see a picture of it on the screen. I'm not going to go digging, but clearly that's one of the processors that's in here. And to be honest, I can't tell you what that is either, because it doesn't really say. Well, it's got a code on it. It might be some Eventide, proprietary product made by this company for them, or something like that, or programmable, whatever. And there's a boot ROM, which you could probably get newer versions, or maybe not, I don't know. But I've never needed to do any of that. It's always been a good bit of gear. Now, looking at the device from over this side of the board, you can see there's lots of memory. But if you look just a bit more this way down here, you can see there's lots of holes as well, and there's another processor missing from there. Look. Yeah, that's a DSP. This other one clearly is for a second DSP and its associated memory and the rest for the H8000. It's all very interesting how they take the device and make it into two different things. This sort of cut back one. Well, I wouldn't call it cut back myself, because it's got incredible features. But they do enhance it further for the 8000 and probably just slap a different front on it and away you go. What more could I say? Now they do use on this device a particular style of card, and if you look at the whole thing, this used to be very common back in the day, and you could get a memory card like that. But these days it's getting rather harder to find them. In fact, I haven't seen one for some time. And what they did is, if you look at this SanDisk here, what they did is they made this sort of compact flash PC card adapter. And if you look inside, what I did is you have this sort of compact flash. This is a 32 meg one, more than adequate for what you might need, by the way. And it sort of fits in this converter, like so. And there you are, back as you should be. And that just slides in the front if you want to add, if you want to do a backup, for example, or if you want to add other tones that have been created, and you get the idea. So there's a quick shot of the back of the device for the I/O, and I'm just going to zoom in a bit closer so you can get a bit of an idea of what the H7600 has and what the H8000 doesn't have. Now then, on a device like this, sometimes it's important to have particular features depending what you're doing and where you're going and things like that. But if you take a look at the back of this device and we work our way that way, you can start off with the power inputs, which is a typical IEC connector. What is important is you can see very clearly here that it can work on 110 or 220 they say, but it actually works on 240 volts and 230 volts as well. So there. You can change the slow blow fuse if you are different than the country of origin where it came from, which is typically America. Let's move along. We've got the obvious requirements of CE, WE, and I think that one's Roche. It might not be, but whatever it is, it'll have Roche on it. Well, yeah, in 2010 it would have had. So we've got a serial port here that we can do various things with, and we've got a remote connector here so we can remotely control. I don't have any of that. It's too expensive for my tastes. In fact, this unit was on the edge of what I was prepared to pay. We've got MIDI, we've got in, out and through, which is always useful and always important on a device like this, if you want it to be. The point is, it's in there, isn't it? And then you've got these other bits down here. It says there pedal 1 and 2, so you can put a pedal on that can control things. Again, I've never really had to do that. And there's a relay here for switching external devices. Well, that's my take on it. I haven't been through the manual, and I have to say I haven't used most of this. I've only used the I/O further down on the clock when necessary. Okay, well, as you can imagine, we've got a word clock, input and output, and we've got SPDIF as well. Yeah, in stereo, most important, if you use it. I tend to use these down here, but there you go. Now, if we look at the bottom first, we've got an analog I/O. So we've got analog in, which can be, any one of the 2 or 3 types of connector that fit in those things. You'll know what I mean. We've also got 2 outs, which are this type. So stereo in, stereo out, and we've also got this digital I/O, which is in there and out there. I tend to use the analog stuff, and I tend not to bother with all this because I couldn't be bothered personally. Yeah, you might need it, might want it, and so on and so forth, but not me. Now, importantly, along the top, this is the stuff I like to see. You can see that for the H8000, you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 more I/O. And you've got 2 more digital I/O. Did you get that? Looking a bit further across here, just where my pointer is right now, basically you fit a board in here and they plug onto the main board on those connectors we looked at earlier. Those ones with the aluminium standoffs. So that's what they're for. Expansion. Okay, well, here we are around the front, and you get this screen, this It looks like a sort of LCD type of thing. It's white on sort of a funny grey. But I'm going to turn it on, and remember it's got no battery replacement in it. So what's great about that is you're going to see probably the error that I saw when it was in the rack. Okay, I've turned it on. This is what you get. The Eventide, the next step. Powering on. You get all the info. EveNet present, which is a sort of control thing. There you are. I sense that the internal RAM is new. Well, it isn't. Do you wish the internal RAM to be cleared and formatted? Well, I'm going to say no. New 05 version detected. Return to factory. Will not erase press. I'm just going to say no on that. So that was the fault that you get when the battery runs out. Just let it do its thing. It'll initialize and we'll be there. It's all nice. Problems found during startup. See setup info for the details. Press a key to continue. I've pressed one. An address error has occurred. Program this, and reboot. Okay, well what I did is I rebooted it and said yes to clear the memory. And it's just a question of there's no battery there to hold what should have been there, if you get me. Anyway, there it is. Welcome to the Eventide 7600. We've got 1001 things that we could hop around and look at, but I don't think we will. We could be here for a month. In any case, I'm not spending too long, but you get an idea of some of the things in here. And I can tell you now, there are so many. John Petrucci, E minor plus sixth. I fancy that. They go on forever. There are literally hundreds and hundreds of parameters. So enough about that. I'm not going to waste your time with that anymore. Let's move along. Actually, just before I do, these are soft keys and they're pretty much like you see these days. If you want to see a list, you hit that one. If you want to go back, you hit that one. If you want to go forward, you get the idea. And further across, we've got the sort of cursor move around it. We've got a select button. We've got parameters we can change. We can choose a particular program and change things around. We can set up a tap. All the things that you'd expect. We can whiz up and down, as you might imagine. You can actually type in the preset number and scan around and do all that sort of stuff with this keypad. At the top you can set your levels. I'll press that. You might see. Hopefully it's still focused. I think you can. There you go. Set all your levels as necessary. When you've had enough of that, you can go back to program. And then we've got a setup button that covers things like clock, tempo, timer, pedals, MIDI, external, dump, next program, display, service, miscellaneous, EveNet. Never had any experience with any of that, but there you go. And back to clock. And that's about it. But it has such a multitude of effects in here that it's almost endless. Okay, I hope you like the bit of a quick rundown. I just want to cover a little bit about the manual. I'm not going to go through all this, of course. But it does have absolutely loads and loads of information all the way back to this bit that you can see there that says presets. Anything before that covers every aspect that you'd ever want to know about this device. And from presets, we have a completely separate presets section, and that covers page after page, every single preset that's in this thing. And of course you can change them. More importantly, at the back here, you do get some Eventide resources. And this one here says, oh, what does it say? It says Premium Acoustic Drum Module, Mac and PC software. So you even get all that stuff. I've never had any of it out because I don't use that stuff for what you think. However, all very interesting and a very, very thorough manual, which is more than I can say for some of them. Now this device, you could say it's complex, but in reality, the presets in it aren't the sort of rubbish that you get on most presets. Most guitarists will be going down the road and saying, "Oh, them presets are terrible." Well, in reality, they're not. They're not quite as, like on some of the junk I've seen. Not studio related, but more regular guitar related. Yeah, so you've got none of that. Well, what about warranty on this thing? Well, when you bought it, when it came out, I think they were a bit mean. I think they still are a bit mean, because that manual tells me I only get a 1-year warranty on this thing, and that was a little bit mean for its thousands and thousands of dollars that it cost at the time. Yeah, I can't say more. It just seems hyper expensive. Now, I know you haven't heard it. Well, you probably have if you've heard some of my music. And if you haven't heard my music, well, go and have a look for it. You'll find it everywhere. But yeah, the Eventide H7600, cracking device, really, really useful device, and not one that I'll be selling anytime soon. How would I score it? Well, it's got a 10 out of 10, even with the battery now. Battery costs nothing. And yeah, look for something else that's like this out there. You might get these at a reasonable price now. I really haven't checked, but maybe you can. Maybe a couple of $1,000, or maybe even less. I don't know. Depends on what you want. And if you want all the other outputs and inputs and all the rest of that, then get the H8000. Either of these will fit in your guitar rack. If you're a Steve Vai, these are the devices that you want. Or maybe even the new one if you've got sort of £6,000 or some ridiculous dollars for it. No. Okay, well, I did really want to show you this one. It's one of them things that most people would never even think of showing you. And one of them things that, well, you might have no interest in it, but if you're actually some sort of serious guitarist or a serious studio, you might buy one of these and you might have it sitting there to do, well, anything it can do for your beck and call. And I can tell you now, it's very, very difficult to find something that's hyper better unless you've got a lot more money. It's brilliant for thickening vocals. It's brilliant for all them effects that I mentioned earlier. It goes on with this device, and it's recommended. Anyway, I just wanted to show it before I put the battery in and put the lid back on, and it goes back into the studio rack, which is next door in the control room. Yeah, that's it for now. Not much more to say about this one. I can't sort of demo it right now. Will I ever demo it? Well, I might or I might not. But like I said, you've heard it on the music, and if you haven't listened to my music, search for Tony Mackenzie or Tony Mackenzie and Alan Bruce, and you'll find the music. So there. And you can buy it for nothing these days, so, they probably free download it everywhere. Or stream it, or do whatever it is you do. Nobody buys CDs anymore, and that's a fact. Anyway, that's it. I hope you like this one. It's one of a number of different ones that I'll probably create over the coming year, 2022. Now get out of here.